So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. You back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Thursday, March 25th. It was 70 days so far, and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Thursday, March 25th here today. It is NBA trade deadline day today, as today at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the deadline for trades, is when NBA teams finalize their rosters for the remaining part of the season. There's been a packed day so far with trades. There's been a lot of trades, a lot of big trades. There's been some small trades, but mostly some big trades. There's been about, I would say, 9 or 10 trades, like 8 to 9, 10 trades or so that have been made already today, and we still have, so a couple more hours to go until, more trades come and until the deadline actually arrives. So the deadline is actually at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means teams have all the way up until that time to make deals. Once that deal's done, it's it. Your roster's set for the rest of the year. So this is a time where teams' rosters start to build for the rest of the season. Some teams start to enter rebuilds, and some teams are quiet. Some teams don't make any moves. For like example, a team like the Magic, they're starting a rebuild. They traded Evan Fournier, they traded Aaron Gordon, and they traded Nikola Vucevic. Probably their 3 best players. They got rid of them all, and the reason is they're building with young players, bringing in new guys, starting fresh. So they're selling. A team who's buying could be like a New York sports team like the New York Knicks. They could be the team that's buying. They could be looking at Oladipo. They could be looking at Drummond. So I will get into all that stuff today. As to review last night in sports, not much going on really. Like I said, not much. Like New York sports-wise for my favorite teams. The Nets lost. I said that going in. I said yesterday on the podcast, if James Harden plays, I'll give them a win. If he doesn't, I had them losing, and there's no doubt about it. He didn't play. They ended up losing, and you miss out in a game. It's not the end of the world. We're still 30-15. We're still the second seed in the East. We're still hot. We're still rolling. I know that we've lost these past couple games, but we've still, if you look at the big picture, we've still won like 16 of our last 19 games. So I can't complain. We're still going. We're still playing well. And as everyone comes back healthy, Kyrie should be back after this road trip. James Harden should be back tomorrow. He had some neck stuff going on. He got hit in the neck against the Wizards. He played through it against the Trailblazers on Tuesday. He played through it. He actually had some compression stuff on his neck, like tape that he put there to loosen it up and make it comfortable for him to play. So then yesterday was kind of a rest, kind of neck day for him to take a day off. Then they have a day off today as a team, which I think they could all use a day off today as a team. The Nets have had a lot of games. There's been a lot of back-to-backs. There's definitely been some injuries, some missing parts of this team. So the Nets, I think today is a good day, refresh, take a day off. Then tomorrow you have a very winnable game against one of the worst teams record-wise in the NBA in the Detroit Pistons. And then now we end our 3-game road trip, and then we head back home. And West Coast trips to begin with are not easy for players, and they're even harder whenever you don't have some of your star players with you. KD, obviously Kyrie out for these 3 games. So we'll see how it all plays out. But, I'm not too concerned with the Nets here. I expected a loss last night. So, sure, I was hoping they would win. But it's not something I'm going to sit here and be angry about when I was expecting them to lose. I had a feeling they were going to lose. There's just no shot with that team that the Nets were throwing out there last night. There's really no shot with going against one of the best teams in basketball in the Utah Jazz. Maybe the best team in basketball in the Utah Jazz, one of the best. So, tough loss. But like I said, I'm not going to sit here and, rant about it. It was a loss. We'll get back at it tomorrow against the Detroit Pistons, so hopefully we'll win that game. The Rangers play today. Rangers have a very, very big game today. This might be the biggest 4-game stretch of the season for us. We have 2 games against the Flyers. Then we play 2 against the Capitals. So this might be the biggest 4-game stretch for us this season. And I'm not trying to exaggerate it all here. I genuinely mean that. This might be the biggest 4-game stretch of the entire season. because of the fact with the playoff implications and the points that we could be getting in these games and the teams that we're playing. We're playing teams that are ahead of us, and we're playing a team in the Flyers who very well after the series, we could be ahead of them. So we got to win these games, which is it's going to be big. So, but yeah, so that's what I got for New York sports update. Like I said, not a crazy amount going on yesterday with New York sports and stuff, but still some action today. Yankees also took a loss yesterday. They played a day game. They were actually on TV, so got to see some of that game, which was good. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's just business as usual in sports, just another sports and some more games on tonight, so should be good. But with all that being said, these are the topics for today. As I mentioned earlier, we're gonna get into some of the NBA trade deadline stuff, the Nets and the Knicks. I'm gonna go through all the trades that have happened so far, and I kind of want to take a deep dive into what the Nets could do, what the Knicks could do. The Knicks made a trade, a very small trade, but it was a very small trade, but it was a trade nonetheless. So kind of want to get into some of that stuff. There's been some rumors surrounding will the Knicks go after Lonzo? Are they going to get Oladipo? There was a rumor that came out yesterday about Andre Drummond. So are the Knicks going to capitalize on any of those players? Are they going to look at any of those players? What's going to happen there? The Nets, there was heavy rumors of them looking at Norman Powell and JaVale McGee. Well, both them got traded. Norman Powell got traded to the... Powell got traded to the Blazers, and then McGee also got traded as well. So, you had Powell and McGee both got traded. So, it wasn't, it's not, not ideal for the Nets. I was hoping the Nets would get their hands on McGee. Big man, guy that can rebound, guy that can finish well. I was hoping we'd get our hands on McGee. We didn't. But there's still some big guys out there. Lonzo Ball, will he get traded? Victor Oladipo, I think he will get traded. It's a matter of who. Ball, I don't know about Ball. I don't think Andre Drummond gets traded. I could very well be wrong about that. But obviously, we'll get into all those news there. Then we'll get into the Jets made another signing yesterday. We actually made two signings yesterday. One was a running back, Tevin Coleman, and the other one was a defensive lineman, Vinny Curry. So, Vinny Curry, it's a signing. It's a depth addition. It's a veteran guy we're bringing in here. He's with the Eagles his entire career except one season. And Joe Douglas was originally with the Eagles, so he knows Douglas. He fits in Saleh's system well and stuff like that. So, I don't know if I really wanted to get into that, but I really wanted to get into the Jets signing Tevin Coleman. He's a running back from the San Francisco 49ers, played the first couple years of his career with the Falcons, then went to the 49ers, and is now with the New York Jets. And I want to tell you why I really like this move for a couple reasons. There's a couple reasons why I like this move. I'll get into that later on in the podcast. I also kind of give you a little bit of an outlook of the New York Jets right now before we head into the NFL draft. The NFL draft's obviously, I believe, April 20s, not usually, 29th, I think it is, somewhere around there. So, we still got a couple weeks from that. But all I wanted to say here was, with the Jet involving the Jets signing Tevin Coleman here, I like the move, and I kind of want to give you a little bit of an outlook of the Jets and some of the things they could look to do before the draft. And not just that, I also kind of just want to give you what I think the current state of the New York Jets. Okay? Because a lot of times, I always talk about individual players, and I don't get to always talk about the entire team. So I kind of want to talk about the Jets right now. So I'll talk about Tevin Coleman, then I'll talk about kind of the state of the Jets, heading towards draft day. So we'll get into that. Then we're going to do New York Sports Update. I know it's been a lot of Jets talk, but, I said it a couple weeks ago. I said there's going to be a lot of free agency stuff going on, and this upcoming week there's going to be a lot of baseball. I'm going to do my power rankings, opening day starting. I might give you, my 26-man roster for the Yankees, the Mets, kind of give you a season preview. So there's going to be a lot of baseball coming up this upcoming week, and even tomorrow, obviously, Lance McCullers signed an extension. I decided to hold that back until tomorrow. I'll probably talk about that, depending on how everything else goes with the trade deadline, so, and all the other news around the sport. So, but yeah, New York Sports Update, like I said, Rangers played today, Knicks also played today. Rangers, like I said, this might be the biggest 4 games of the season. We have a 4-game road trip, 2 in Philly, 2 in Washington. I've said this for the past couple days now, and maybe you do think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not exaggerating. This might be the biggest series of the season. We are playing a team that we are only we're playing a team that if we beat them twice this series, we could very well bump in to the 5th spot and only be like 2-3 points out of the 4 seed, which is a playoff spot. So this is a pivotal road trip, a pivotal series, and we need to get wins. We cannot possibly go into this road trip and go 1-3, or else I'll tell you what, it's going to be a climb. It's going to be a long climb. It's going to be a long, tough climb to try to get to the playoffs if we lose these games. We got to take advantage of these games. We got to take advantage of these matchups. We got to win tonight. So the Rangers game, huge game there. But yeah, that's kind of what I got from the New York Sports Update. And then obviously the rest of, the NBA and NHL and MLB stuff. Obviously MLB officially a week away from the start of the MLB season. Super exciting. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So NBA trade deadline was today. Like I said earlier in the podcast, I'm sure you remember, I said earlier 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the trade deadline ends. So as we stand right now, we still have a couple hours to go until the trade deadline is officially over. I guess you could say, it's officially over, but at 2:59 there could be a deal that goes through, right? I mean, there's even some deals that happen at 15 minutes past the deadline, just finalizing the little things here and there. But today, there's been a lot of action. There has been a lot of action with the trade deadline and just with all these moves. And I said it yesterday when I was ending the podcast. I said that I would talk about it today. And I also kind of I was also talking to some people yesterday about the trade deadline. You could always brainstorm, and that's what's so great about the trade deadline. You could always, any trades, free agency, anything. It's so much fun to just, brainstorm of ideas. Oh, what if we take this guy, trade this guy away, and then maybe we grab this guy? Like almost I do that with the Jets and the Yankees and the Rangers and the Nets sometimes. I did that with the Nets now. I'm kind of brainstorming of ideas. Like, oh, what if we give up these 2 guys, get this guy in a pick? How could he fit in this roster, right? It's always fun to brainstorm. Obviously, you got to be realistic with it. It's not like the Nets are going to go out and trade for LeBron James. You got to be realistic with it. You got to be realistic with it. But today, I'm kind of surprised that there's been a lot of moves. And I shouldn't say that I'm surprised, but, and it's a true thing, with the virus and with everything going on outside of sports, you notice that since, really sports have gone shut down and now they've resumed, obviously, now obviously the NBA is playing the season, NHL, all the sports, all the big sport leagues are still playing, so that's good, but, with the whole virus and stuff, a lot of times, with the whole quarantine period and the whole, traveling from, if I got traded, if I was for example, Magic have traded 3 players. Well, those guys have to go from Orlando to their next destination. Then you got to quarantine, you got to practice with the team, do all this testing, this protocols, and it's a tough process. Getting traded alone is a process for not only the player but the team that's giving him up, and obviously the team that's receiving the stuff too. Unless if it's picks, because picks aren't gonna have to go through COVID protocol. If you get what I'm saying, you're not gonna get a draft pick, and the draft pick's not gonna have to get tested. It's a draft pick. But yeah. So back to my point here with the with the players. So it was tough already. The process of trading and trade deadline is already tough. You got to go there. You got to join the team. Meet the players, practice. Usually, I think they usually do a physical anyway of you. You got to, do your physical in order for you to be official. You got to make it official and stuff. So it's a process. And then add on to all the protocol stuff, the quarantine period and all that stuff, it makes it even complicated. So if you notice that it's been a little bit quiet, the past, some of these leagues off seasons, it's because of that. During the year, I should say. Like, for example, the MLB trade deadline last season, or even the NBA and stuff, it was relatively quiet. It was all, even this off season for the MLB, at first it was quiet a little bit, but then as, the season started to shape up and, players started to realize, what they're doing, they're playing 162 games, there started to be moves to make. So, I was kind of relatively surprised. I shouldn't say I'm surprised because I expected moves to be made, but to expect these big of moves to be made, like to expect Nikola Vucevic to get traded, I was not expecting that. I thought Vucevic would be a player that the Magic would build around. He was a veteran on that team. He's very good. He's having a very good season. You can rank him among some of the better centers in the league. Am I saying he's the best? No, but he's definitely up there as having one of the better years of his career really this year in Nikola Vucevic. So I was surprised to see that. Wasn't surprised to see Aaron Gordon gone. He requested a trade a couple days ago. The Magic were going to trade him anyway, so I wasn't surprised to see that. I wasn't surprised to see JaVale McGee get traded. I wasn't surprised to see Norman Powell get traded. I am surprised that Kyle Lowry, to be honest, isn't off the board. And the reason I say that is because I said yesterday, I always talk to people off the podcast, so I was saying a lot of this yesterday off the podcast, that if Kyle Lowry is going to get traded today, I thought it was going to be early. I thought a team was going to jump on him, and boom, that's going to be it. That's going to be like the big prize. A team's going to jump on him early, get him, and that's going to be it. But Kyle Lowry right now, when I'm recording this, hasn't gone traded. There's very well I end this podcast, he gets traded. But right now, when I'm recording it, Kyle Lowry hasn't got traded yet. And I was kind of surprised to see that, because I was figuring if he was going to get traded, it was going to be traded early, because they would be negotiating throughout the night into the morning, and once a team strikes a deal, they're going to be like, get him over here now, because Kyle Lowry is a very good player, and to a contending team that could get Lowry, that's a key player. So, I'm surprised to see he hasn't gone off the board. I'm not surprised, but I'm saying now I'm leaning towards he probably won't get traded, because I figured if he was going to get traded, it was going to be early, it was going to be one of the first moves, and that was going to be it, because the team would have been working throughout the night to try to get the deal done. But I think it's going to be interesting. And Kyle Lowry too, walking off the court last night, threw up the peace sign, which means kind of like bye, and everyone was talking about it, and it was all over media, and he kind of hinted towards it in his interview and stuff, saying that this might be it for him, but he hasn't gotten traded yet. So maybe the Raptors do decide to hold off and maybe decide to just trade him at the end of the year. And that's sometimes what happens during the trade deadline is teams sometimes feel that sometimes teams feel that trading a guy, you could get a lot more in the off season than you could now. So but yeah, so that's kind of it. Let me go through some of the deals though that has happened so far in the NBA. So the NBA trade deadline is in fact wild. It really is. So some of the big trades that have happened so far in the trade deadline involving some big names. Aaron Gordon got traded to the Denver Nuggets. I said he got traded earlier. I don't know if I mentioned he got traded to the Nuggets, but he did. Nikola Vucevic got traded to the Bulls. Evan Fournier got traded to the Celtics. George Hill got traded to the 76ers. Norman Powell got traded to the Portland Trailblazers. JaVale McGee got traded to the Denver Nuggets. And I'm going to struggle with this name. Namaji Bjelica got traded to the Heat, which I don't think that's that big of a name. But I'm sure the Heat's return might have been big there. So far, some of the active teams have been the Nuggets. The Nuggets have gone out and gotten two bigs. They got Aaron Gordon, and they got JaVale McGee, and they're an active buyer, I would say, right now. Now, an active seller is the Orlando Magic, and I'm not surprised to see this, but the one thing I was surprised about with the Orlando Magic, and hey, comment down below if you're not surprised. I'm sure some people out there aren't surprised, but I was very surprised to see Nikola Vucevic get traded. And the reason I was surprised about that is, A, he's having a good year. He's having a good year. And anytime, I'm not surprised about Aaron Gordon. Evan Fournier, I didn't even really pay much attention to if he was going to get traded or not. He seems like just another guy, freeing up cap space, kind of get rid of him kind of thing. And Aaron Gordon, definitely not surprised. Aaron Gordon, I think, was almost our guarantee. He literally requested a trade, like 2 days before the trade deadline. So we all knew that he was going to get traded. It was just a matter of where. Nuggets, I don't know if I was expecting that. I was expecting him to get traded to like the Heat or someone. Or not even just the Heat, just another team. I know he wasn't going to get traded to the Nets or the Knicks. There was no rumors about that or nothing. But I wasn't surprised. But, back to my Nikola Vucevic point, I was surprised to see him get traded. And let me explain my reasoning. Whenever you enter a rebuild or going to enter a rebuild, you could fill up with young players, but a lot of times it's good to at least have one or two veterans on a team and one or two veterans that are going to make an impact. And the Hawks did that. They got Vince Carter. He wasn't really making much of an impact, but they got Vince Carter because he's a veteran on a young team teaching some of those guys. And that's how I feel like Nikola Vucevic was. Nikola Vucevic making a greater impact. He's playing at the top of his game right now. And, Vucevic, he's 30 years old. So he's been in the league for a good amount of time. And I'm surprised to see him get traded. And I understand they're selling and they're trying to rebuild. But, at least you could try to build around him young players and have him learn or have him teach some of those young guys. Pass some of the knowledge down. This season, Vucevic is averaging 24.5 per game. He's averaging 11.8 rebounds per game. He's averaging a double-double per game. This is some of the best numbers he's had in his entire career. It's the most points per game he's put up in his entire career in a season. And the second most rebounds per game he's put up an entire season. The first was in 2018, I believe, when he had 12 boards per game. But that season he only put up 20.8 points per game. This season he's putting up 24. He's shooting at a high clip, 48%, which is up there at some of the highest of his career. And it's a guy too. Yes, he's 30 years old, but that's another thing too. You're getting a solid veteran. He's 30 years old. And I'll tell you what, that Bulls team, they're getting a solid player. Zach LaVine, Kobe White, and now Nikola Vucevic. Yes, they're giving up Otto Porter and guys like that, but that's a solid team. I'm not saying the Bulls are going to make a run, but that's a solid team. And if Lauri Markkanen could stay healthy for one day, that would be nice. It seems like every other day he's got an injury. So, if that team could stay healthy, they could be a competitive team, I think. They just got to clean up some stuff, just clean up some stuff with the team. They need a better bench, need a couple of different things there. It's going to take a lot more to get that Bulls team back to, trying to get back to, a contending team. But, I'll tell you what, the Bulls are getting a great addition, getting Nikola Vucevic. This is a guy who's having a career year, highest points per game of his career, 24.5, second most rebounds per game of his career, 11.8. His first was back in 2018 when he put up 12, so it's only 0.2 more, which isn't much at all. So, Nikola Vucevic, a big deal. Very surprised to see the Magic trade him, and, he's going to the Bulls, and the Magic are selling. The Magic are sellers. They got rid of Gordon, got rid of Evan Fournier, and got rid of, obviously, Vucevic, like I just mentioned. So they're getting rid of everyone. They're cleaning house. And we heard that a couple days ago. Like I said, I'm not surprised that they're cleaning house. I'm just surprised that they gave up Nikola Vucevic. Like, he's having a big year. He's having a big year. And I understand they're struggling and stuff, but I'm surprised. I really am surprised that they're giving up a guy like that. Not surprised at Aaron Gordon or anyone else, but definitely Nikola Vucevic, I'm surprised. So let's get into some of the other trades here. I'm going to actually get into some of the trades, the bigger trades that have happened. So the Trailblazers, this is the Trailblazers trade. The Portland Trailblazers, this is the Norman Powell. So the Trailblazers receive Norman Powell, and the Toronto Raptors receive Rodney Hood and Gary Trent Jr. So that's a trade between the Raptors and the Portland Trailblazers. Another trade, Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets. So the Nuggets receive Aaron Gordon, and the Magic receive Gary Harris, R.J. Hampton in a 2025 first-round pick that's protected. So R.J. Hampton, rookie, or a young player rookie there, already getting traded. So, sometimes, that's where the Magic are getting what they want. The Magic are getting a first-round pick in the next couple years, and they're getting a young asset in R.J. Hampton that they probably believe can, develop and make an impact. So they're getting what they want, and the Nuggets are getting what they want. But I would say the Nuggets are winning this trade only because it's a now kind of trade for them, and they're making a strong push, and Aaron Gordon's only going to help. Evan Fournier to Boston. Boston Celtics receive Evan Fournier, and the Magic receive 2 second-round picks. So just a player and 2 picks. Nothing crazy there. But obviously the Celtics are, getting a guy in Fournier who can drive. He can get mid-range. He can kind of do it all. He can, he's a solid defender. He can do a lot. He's not going to be a guy that's going to put up 30 a night, but he's going to be a guy that's going to go out there. He's going to pass. He's going to do his thing, and they're going to get him a guy who like that. He's putting up 19.7 assists, 19.7 points this season. So, like I said, not a guy that's going to explode for 35 every night. He's going to be in that 15 to 20 range. Get a basket or two when you need him to. Then Nikola Vucevic to Chicago, like I mentioned. I didn't mention trade, but the Bulls are receiving Al Forquay, Amniu, and Nikola Vucevic, so that's who they're trading or receiving. And then the Magic are receiving a lot. They're receiving Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter Jr., 2021 first-round pick, top 4 protection, and a 2023 first-round pick. So the Bulls are giving up 2 first-round picks and 2 young players that have a good amount of talent. So the Bulls, but they are getting Nikola Vucevic, who's having one of the better seasons for a center this year. So they're getting a lot, but they're also giving up a lot. I look at this trade as a win-win. Both sides get what they want. The Bulls are getting Nikola Vucevic, and the Magic are getting picks, and they're getting young talent, which is exactly what they want to try to build a solid foundation for the future and going into the rebuild. The next trade, JaVale McGee to Denver. The Cavaliers receive Isaiah Hartenson, 2023 second-round pick, protected, numbers 31 to 46, and a 2027 second-round pick, unprotected. So that's 2027 second-round pick I don't think it's going to do much. We'll find out in 6 years when that pick comes up. And then the Nuggets obviously receive JaVale McGee. So Cavs aren't getting much back. They're just getting later second-round picks and a player as well. But McGee should make an impact in Denver. Then this was the first trade I think that really broke Delon Wright to Sacramento. P.J. Walker, who got traded a couple days ago to Milwaukee. This was a big trade. So the Rockets received DJ Augustine, DJ Wilson, the right to swap their 2021 second-round pick for Milwaukee's 2021 first-round pick. Milwaukee's 2023 first-round pick unprotected. So a lot of picks the Houston are getting. And then Milwaukee Bucks are receiving Rodion Kurucs, former Net. Then P.J. Tucker, 2022 first-round picks of their own, and $110,000 cash via Phoenix. And then the Phoenix Suns are receiving Torrey Craig. So there's a 3-team trade there. Trevor Ariza obviously went to Miami. That was another trade. And the Clippers cleared up some cap, giving up a player and then getting some picks in return. Getting a player and giving up some picks. It was kind of a cap-saving move there. Kind of that kind of stuff. But there's been a lot of moves. And, back to my Nets and Knicks point, like I said, there's going to be, the Knicks have made a move. It was a small move. They gave up Austin Rivers to Oklahoma City and Ingis Dingus, which is quite the name. They gave him up also to Oklahoma City, and they're getting a couple of guys in return. It's a 3-team trade. I believe the 76ers are also involved, but it's not like a 3-team trade that's something that's going to make or break the team's season. It's just a quick trade. A little trade here and there. A lot of these guys turn into, down the road trade pieces as well. But with a little bit more left here in the remaining with the trade deadline here, you wonder what the Knicks and the Nets are going to do. Are the Nets going to make any moves? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Nets could stay completely silent at this point. And the reason I say that is because the Nets were targeting Norman Powell. They were targeting JaVale McGee. They are both off the board now. And, all the other rumors that you could possibly make up are done too. I don't think the Nets were in the Nets weren't, I don't think, in any of the conversations regarding Gordon's and Fournier and stuff like that. The Nets were really hovered around Norman Powell. Supposedly the Nets were heavily interested in Norman Powell. He's now going to the Trailblazers. And the Nets were also interested in JaVale McGee. He is also now he's going to the Nuggets. So, the Nets obviously were interested in those guys. They were obviously willing to give up some guys. Another question with the Nets is, does Spencer Dinwiddie, is he a Net at the end of today, or does he get traded? We'll find out that also in a little bit. A lot of times you notice some of these last-second moves happen 15, 20 minutes before the deadline comes. So some of these moves might happen really late, and some of these moves might not. So, some of these moves might just happen throughout the day, which is the majority of the moves. But that's going to be a big question. And not even just a big question for the Knicks, but mostly a big question in the NBA. What are the Pelicans going to do with Lonzo Ball? That's been one of the bigger questions. Another big question has been, what's going to happen with Andre Drummond? Not even just what the Cavs are going to do with him, what's going to happen with him? There's been so many reports the past month that the market's dry, no one's interested in him. Well, if they don't get him, he hasn't been playing because they've been looking for a trade for him. Let's just say no one trades for Andre Drummond. What do the Cavaliers do? Do they go ahead and buy out his contract and release him and if he's a team, anyone can pick him up? Or do they keep him and just hope that maybe at the end of the year they can try to find a target? We'll see how that all plays out. And then another question, too, is what's going to happen with the Rockets and Oladipo? Are they going to say, you know what, just finish out the rest of the year here, we're going to try to get more for you in the season? Or are you going to go ahead and say, hey, we're going to give you up? And that's another question, too, is how much are the Rockets asking for Victor Oladipo? Are they going to ask for a lot? Because I don't think right now Oladipo's stock has definitely dropped. He's not had a great year this year. He hasn't had a bad year, but he hasn't been the Oladipo we saw when he was with the Indiana Pacers. And, we'll see. And that's another guy, too, that's already gotten traded twice. So, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this trade deadline comes out. But I'll tell you what, the Nets, maybe I'm wrong. And depending on what move it is, I would love the Nets to make a move, preferably for a big. So we'll see how all that plays out. But in regards to the Knicks here, the Knicks have got about 3 options, and they're all still available. There's guys like Oladipo, he hasn't gotten traded yet. Lonzo Ball, he hasn't gotten traded yet. And another rumor that floated around last night was Andre Drummond. I don't think the Knicks are going to go out and get Andre Drummond. I think if anything, they're going to get Oladipo or Lonzo. What do the Knicks do? And obviously the Knicks, they made a move, and sometimes that spirals into more moves. So we'll see how it all plays out there. But so far, as for the 2 New York basketball teams, Brooklyn Nets and New York Knicks, it's been a relatively quiet day. The Knicks have made a small 3-team trade, and the Nets haven't made any moves. And there hasn't been much going around the Nets, as I think it's going to start to slow down here a little bit, as some of the big names like Gordon, like Vucevic, like Hill, like Powell, like McGee are now off the board. Your options are much slimmer, but you still got guys like Kyle Lowry who are out there, Oladipo, Ball, Andre Drummond's been out there for over half the season. So we'll see how all this plays out. But hopefully, I hope down the stretch that everything goes. I hope down the stretch we get some more moves. Even if it's just another team. It's always nice to get more moves. As many moves as it can be. Not just from a fan standpoint. Whether they're involving the Nets or just a regular move, it's always fun to just track them and what could this do for a team? So but yeah, a lot going on at the NBA trade deadline. A lot going on, and glad that it's action. Glad that it's action packed. Even though the Nets haven't made moves, and for me talking a lot about New York sports, and the Knicks haven't made moves, mainly the Nets, because the Knicks made a move, but it's not a move that's gonna, propel them. I mean, I'm telling you, if the Knicks go out and get Oladipo, that's a move that I think definitely impacts their team and definitely is gonna make them a playoff team. If they don't, I'm not saying they're not a playoff team, but it does. I do think the Knicks could definitely use another piece to this puzzle that they're trying to build. And so far, the Knicks are doing a good job with it. And the Nets, we'll see how all of the rest of it plays out. So, and like I said, if in the next 20 minutes of this podcast a move comes out, I will talk about it. Tomorrow, if a move comes out if there's a move that comes out and it's not involving the Nets, I don't know if I'll talk about it. Just because of the fact that it's just not like if it's another move involving like another player, I don't know if I'll talk about it. I might, depending on how the rest of sports goes. But yeah, so another packed trade deadline in the NBA, so which is good. I always like trade deadline. It's always time to look forward to. You like as much as you like the season. Sometimes the season's so much fun. Obviously, the season's the best part of sports. But I do love the trades. The fun. Not fantasizing, but the brainstorming of possibilities. The thinking of a move, this move, thinking of that move. Oh, what if we did this? What if we did that? It's just thinking of different things. But at the end of the day, it's up to the front office. The fans have no control. It's up to the front office. And if the front office feels it's a good move, they would make it. If they don't, they won't make it. So we'll see how it plays out. Coming up next, though, I'm going to get into Jets signing Tevin Coleman. We actually made 2 moves yesterday. First was signing Vinny Curry, and literally like 20 minutes later, we signed Tevin Coleman. The Vinny Curry move, it's a depth addition. It's a guy that's been with Joe Douglas for a long time. Bringing him in, he fits Salah's defense. I'm not trying to say this in a mean way. He's not going to be a guy that's going to make 20 sacks this season, win MVP, and make a Pro Bowl. Not that Tevin Coleman will be either, but Tevin Coleman is going to be, depending on how our draft goes, right now, currently, the guy we just picked up yesterday is going to be our starting running back. He's going to be the guy that's going to line up next to the quarterback whoever that is. That's what's crazy. We don't even know who our quarterback's going to be. Right? So we'll see how that all plays out. But I want to get into this coming up next. We're going to get into Tevin Coleman, why this is a good move, why I like it, and kind of a Jets overview right now of the Jets team. Coming up next. Alrighty. So let's get into this here. There was this funny thing. So it was okay. So this is the 76ers Knicks Thunder trade. So George Hill goes to Philly. The Knicks get Terrence Ferguson, and the Thunder get Tony Bradley, Austin Rivers, and 2 second-round picks. So that's that trade. Which is good. So the Clippers are also in talks right now for Kyle Lowry, which makes sense considering Lowry played with Kawhi a couple seasons ago. That's another thing too. You also got to make these, sometimes these guys go to teams not just because, sometimes these guys like to go to these teams just because, they've played with a guy that's former and stuff like that. So that's always sometimes what happens there. As Malcolm Butler goes to Arizona, it's also a trade. Not a trade, but Malcolm Butler, he's an NFL player, signed with Arizona. So, let's get this up here. Let's get up to the Jet stuff. There's this funny thing. It said trying to keep up with all the trades and free agency. And it was Jimmy Butler. I don't know if you remember the game, but he put his head down on like the thingy in the bubble, and he was tired and stuff. He was playing a lot, and trying to keep up with all these trades was like that because, there's been so much trades going on. It's been hard to keep up. But anyway. Alrighty. So anyway, with the Jets here. So report former 49ers running back Tevin Coleman. Jets agree to 1-year deal worth $2 million contract. So it's a 1-year, $2 million deal. I believe it's all fully guaranteed. He's going to be a New York Jet for a season. As they signed Tevin Coleman, former running back for the San Francisco 49ers. This move makes complete sense to me. And the reason I say this is because The reason I say it makes complete sense is because Mike LaFleur, who was the quarterback's coach and, was in the offense with San Francisco, his same offensive scheme, he's now the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets. His same offensive scheme is going back to with the Jets. And Tevin Coleman was with the Niners. He was in that scheme. Now he comes over to the Jets. He's a scheme fit. He's going to be there. We talk about this a million times. But I first off want to kind of give you an overview of the New York Jets. Okay? Kind of an outlook. And like I said, I'm going to make my season prediction after the draft, when we get into training camp, when the roster is pretty much full and stuff like that. That will come around during the summer area. Definitely after the draft and when the schedule release. I need to know the schedule in order to make my predictions. But anyway, kind of an outlook on the New York Jets. And I was talking to someone, I had a 10-minute, 15-minute talk with someone about this yesterday, about kind of the New York Jets, the state of the Jets right now. Okay? And I've said this millions and millions of times, but sometimes I feel like I talk about a million different things you might forget about. So I kind of want to talk about just like the outlook of the New York Jets. Then I'll get into this Tevin Coleman signing. Obviously, the New York Jets hired, and a lot of people don't realize sometimes that hiring a head coach, you're getting the right head coach, is the biggest thing you could do almost in football. First off, it obviously starts with the GM, because that GM's got to make that coach decision. You got to also first off got to have a smart GM, because you could have a good coach all you want and have a bad GM. The GM's the one that gets all the players here, so you got to have a good GM. And I've said this about Joe Douglas and the Jets. I was iffy with Joe Douglas when we hired him. And the reason I was is because he had a connection with Gaze. I never really liked Gaze. He didn't do much in his first offseason with us. I was iffy with him. He did have a very good draft. I gained his trust during the draft. I have trust for him in the draft. Then we go to this year's free agency. He's made moves that I really like. He's made moves that has made many Jets fans like. And he's made moves that are all around the NFL, has people talking about how the Jets have had a very good free agency so far. So I have definitely gained Joe Douglas' trust in New York Jets GM. After, I was iffy with him this kind of entire season, a little bit into the offseason. I was kind of iffy. I was kind of, then when he hired Robert Saleh, I was like, okay, this is good. Then he got players. I was like, oh, yeah, that's really good. Got good free agency. He's already had a really good draft, and I'm expecting him to have another good draft this season. So I definitely trust what Joe Douglas is doing. And if he feels that this move is the right move, I will go ahead with it. because I have gained my trust in him. I have gained trust in him. I'm starting to really enjoy that he is the GM of the New York Jets. And I know I've came on this podcast a couple times and talked about him and stuff like that, but I have kind of gained trust for him due to the things that he has done, not only this offseason, but last draft and going into this draft. I really feel like he's a trustworthy GM and a guy that we can believe to try to turn this thing around. And back to that coaching point, we got Robert Saleh. And if you listen to any of the interviews of the New York Jets, and this is another thing too, you got to listen, sometimes to the interviews and stuff, which I do all the time. If you listen to any of the players, right, a lot of times what head coaches and players want to do, they want to, a head coach, they want to be well-respected around the league. If you're a well-respected coach around the league, you're going to get players that are going to want to come play for you. And Robert Saleh is a very well-respected head coach around the league. Now, he was a defensive coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers. He was a defense assistant with the Texans, most recently with the 49ers, where players, coaches from other teams, see the passion in him, see the connection with players in him, and see how good of a coach he is. When you gain respect, when players have respect for you, you know that. When players want to come to a team. Players have said in their interviews with the New York Jets that the reason that they've came to the Jets, a lot of it was because not only do they want to help turn this thing around, but another reason why, the main reason, was because they have respect and they trust Robert Saleh. They trust what Robert Saleh and his plan, they trust what he's trying to do with the New York Jets. They trust that he really is going to be the guy that's going to try to turn this thing around and get the Jets back to winning football. That's what a lot of these players believe in, and Robert Saleh has done that. And that's what I'm talking about. The impact a coach can make on a team is great. It's just insane. What a head coach can do to a football team is unreal, whether that's good or bad. And Saleh right now, he's already making really good things happen, and we're not even in week 1 yet. He hasn't even practiced with any of these guys. Part of the reason these guys are signing here is because they trust what Saleh is trying to do with this team. They believe that the process he's taken, they believe that what he's doing is going to help not only the players build and be solid, but turn this team back into winning football. And most of all, they have respect for him. They have respect for him. And with the New York Jets, when they had Gaze, players weren't respecting him. Players didn't really want to play for him. Players want to play for Robert Saleh. So he hasn't even stepped on the practice field yet. He hasn't even coached any of these players. Some of them he's coached, but he hasn't coached this team. He hasn't he hasn't had a practice with this team yet. And already, without him having even practice, without him having even holding a team practice yet, without the season, OTA's training camp even started, he's already making an impact. Because players are getting respect, players want to come here for that reason. So that just goes to show you how big of an impact a coach can have on a team. And my outlook on the New York Jets, and I said this yesterday, then I'll get to Tevin Coleman. Okay, the Jets, the outlook yesterday. Obviously, in any sport, whether that's football, basketball, hockey, or baseball, your goal is to win a championship. Whether that's, like I said, NHL, NBA, NFL, or MLB. Or even if whatever sport you're, your goal is to win a championship. Your goal is to win the World Series in baseball. Your goal is to win the Stanley Cup in hockey. Your goal is to win the NBA Finals in NBA. And your goal is to win the Super Bowl in the NFL. Your goal is to win a championship every season. Your goal is to win every game. There's never a game where you're going in there hoping to lose. Every game you hope to win, or as a player and a coach, right? And even as a fan. I mean, obviously, unless if you're trying to get a pick and stuff, but you're always rooting for a win. And obviously this season, I want the Jets to win the Super Bowl. I know the chances of that are very slim. I know there's still a lot to be built. There's still some stuff the Jets got to do until we get to that contending team. But I said this yesterday to someone too. I said, if the Jets, what I first want the Jets to do, get back to a respectable football level. And I believe we are there. And what I say is 6 to 8 wins, 7 to 8 wins, 8-8, 500 record. And I say this all the time. Obviously, I want the Jets to make the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. But you also got to have mini goals as well. You got to have mini goals. Getting back to a respectable level. Getting back to where you're not the laughingstock of the league. Getting back to where you're a competitive football team. And I believe the Jets are on track to do that. On track to come back, to be back to a respectable football team. And I always say this, to be a talk in December. What does that mean? Well, that means that you're going into December with 3 or 4 meaningful games left. I'm tired of every year with the New York Jets going into December with those 4 games meaning absolutely nothing. And I believe that this season, the 3-4 games that the Jets will have in December, I believe will mean something. Obviously, like I said, I still got to see the schedule. But I believe under Robert Saleh, we will play meaningful games into, late November and into December. Does that mean we're going to make the playoffs? I don't know. We got to see how it goes. We got to see how it plays out. But I do believe the Jets here, I want the Jets to be back to a competitive and a respectable level first. Then we can talk about, all the big stuff. Like I said, I want the Jets to obviously win it all. I want the Yankees to win it all. I want the Rangers to win it all. I want the Nets to win it all. I want all my teams to win the championship. Right? That's the goal. As sports, players do. Players want to win every game. Right? It's the goal. Some leagues, it's easier to do than others. Right? So that's the goal, is to win every game, win the championship. But you also got to think of these small goals in between. And one of the small goals, and one of the goals for the Jets here, is to get back to a respectable level. And I believe with these signings, with this coaching hire, I believe we're heading in the right direction. And do I think that's outrageous to say? No. We won 2 games last season. I think it's very well we win 5 more games, 6 more games than we did last season. We've gotten a lot better players. And not just that, we still got the draft to go, but also we got a very good coach. We've got a coach that players believe in. We've got a coach that the fan base is gathered around, including myself. And we've got a coach that's well respected, not just with the Jets organization, but around the NFL. So with the New York Jets right now, there's a lot of suffering with this team. But I do believe the Jets are starting to turn the corner back to respectable football, back to competitive football, and back to ultimately trying to get back to the winning ways that the New York Jets were some time ago. Trying to get back to a winning football team. Because Doug Saleh's also going to try to bring in a winning culture. He's going to completely change the culture here. He's going to come in every day. He's going to work, and get these guys ready to play every weekend. And that's what I really believe is what he's going to do. And I believe he's going to do solid, really good things under us. I do believe he's going to do great things with us. And I'm excited for it. So that's kind of what I got on the Jets. Back to the Tevin Coleman point. Okay, the reason why I really like this signing is the Jets are already thin at running back. And we're thin at running back. We have LaMichael Pirine, Ty Johnson, Josh Adams. Not great. LaMichael Pirine, he's young, I get it. Ty Johnson had a couple games there. Tevin Coleman, the reason why I like this move, he's automatically our first running back right now. Now, very well, we could go through the draft and stuff like that. But I believe the Jets' process here and what the Jets are pushing to do is, I believe with the Jets' process and what they're pushing to do is that during the draft, they might draft a running back. And what they're going to do is Tevin Coleman's going to be the first guy. Then that drafted running back might be the second guy. Or they split time. Then it's LaMichael Pirine. And then you have a training camp battle between Ty Johnson and Josh Adams. And whoever makes the team makes it, and obviously whoever doesn't. Whether that guy goes on the practice squad or whether he just releases and you just forget about it. Whatever the case may be. That's what I believe the Jets' plan here to do is. Tevin Coleman is going to start. He's going to be the starter. Now, is LaMichael Pirine going to split time with him? Very well, because Tevin Coleman throughout his career has been good at splitting time. Then we may draft a running back. He might fill into that 2 spot. So then you have 3 running backs there, 2 splitting time, and then the second string. And in the battle for that 3rd, 4th spot would be Josh Adams and Ty Johnson. In training camp, you would have a training camp battle between them. Obviously, whoever wins that training camp battle makes the team, and that's how you are in the active roster starting week 1. Now, maybe the Jets go ahead and believe that, with Tevin Coleman being a veteran and being in the system already of Mike LaFleur, maybe they believe they don't need to draft a guy, and they believe they got a guy in Tevin Coleman that could go out there and give you solid performances week in and week out. Solid performances. I'm not talking about 200 yards and 7 touchdowns every week. I'm talking about solid performance, 10 to 15 carries, 15 carries, 80 yards, something like that. Not every week, but solid games like that, somewhere around that where, he's a good pass catcher out of the backfield. The Jets could very well use that, especially depending on what our quarterback situation's like. So Tevin Coleman, we're getting a guy that could be a multi-versatile back. He does a lot. He could catch balls out of the backfield. He can also obviously run them, which is, what every running back does. So that's kind of what I wanted to get to Tevin Coleman is the Jets might have a little bit of a running back competition here, but why I like this move so much is right now he is going to be our first running back, and I like that. A veteran with experience going into a scheme that he's very familiar with not only helps him, but he helps some of the younger guys, and I think he's going to be a key part to this offense moving forward. So report former 49ers running back Tevin Coleman. Jets agreed to 1 year, $2 million contract. The New York Jets have reportedly signed running back Tevin Coleman in 1 year to a 1 year, $2 million deal per ESPN's Adam Schefter. The veteran will be joining a running back group that includes Michael P. Ryan and Ty Johnson, and he will play in a familiar offense from his San Francisco days under new head coach Robert Saleh and offensive coordinator Michael LaFleur, who were both on the Niners coaching staff. The familiarity makes perfect sense. New Jets offensive coordinator Michael LaFleur gets one of his guys, and New York Jets get some depth and upside. So that's what Ian Rappaport posted. Coleman, 27, appeared in just 8 games for the 49ers last season. Which he wasn't playing a lot, but rushing for 53 yards, 1.9 yards per carry, and he added 4 receptions for 34 yards. After a promising start to his career in Atlanta, highlighted by 800 rushing yards in a night and 9 total touchdowns in 2018, he failed to make a similar mark in San Francisco, rushing for 544 yards and 6 touchdowns, 14 games in 2019. Here's the thing here: in San Francisco, he wasn't getting much playing time. But when he was out there, he was making impact. In Atlanta, he was getting a lot more playing time. It was really him. It was him and then Devontae Freeman and a little bit more of him. So when he gets playing time, when he gets his chance, he's definitely a solid player. With Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson still in San Francisco, Coleman was deemed expandable. Like I said, he was kind of the third guy in that roster. Not for any particular reason, just the fact that Mostert and Jeff Wilson were ahead of him. It's unlikely he'll be significant. He's going to be an upgrade. And, he's going to be an upgrade because the New York Jets are slim at that position. So he's going to be an upgrade. And that's where people, I think, sometimes get a little confused, is he's going to be an upgrade. Because the Jets we're thin at the running back position as it is. So he's automatically an upgrade. Team that finished 23rd in rushing yards last season. All that good stuff. Last season, P. Ryan combined for just 480 yards. The team's current running back group is unlikely to strike fear in hearts of opposing defenses, obviously, which is why we added him. That doesn't mean the Jets are done upgrading the position. However, with April's NFL draft, another outlet to add a player in the backfield, the Jets have more than a few holes to fill. So running back may be somewhat down the list. If nothing else, Coleman offers the team a short-term stopgap. Who knows the offense and will be ready and will be steady if unspectacular in 2021. If he can stay healthy, sometimes he struggled during his time in San Francisco. He should be a nice low-cost addition. When he stays healthy and when he gets playing time, he's a solid running back. And I've just got tough news here for my fantasy team, baseball fantasy team. Eloy Jimenez will be out 5 to 6 months. Eloy Jimenez out 5 to 6 months. White Sox star left fielder will miss most of the 2021 season with a ruptured pec that will require surgery. So he's going to be out a good amount of time. So he's going to be out a long time, and I have him in fantasy baseball. So I got to figure out a way now. I'm probably just put him on my IL spot. He's going to be out 5 to 6 months, so I guess I put him on my IL spot, and if it gets filled up during the season, we'll see how it plays out. But anyway, let's get to the other stuff. Comment down below your thoughts on the Jets and the NBA trade deadline and stuff like that. As for the NBA yesterday, the Kings won, Clippers won, Hornets won, Mavericks won, Magic won, Cavs won, Grizzlies won, Bucks won, Raptors won, and Pacers won. Nets lost yesterday, 118-88. We moved to 30-15 on the season. And just couldn't get anything going. As for today's games, Heat Trailblazers, I'll give Heat the win. Knicks Wizards, I'll give Knicks the win. Clippers Spurs, give Clippers the win. 76ers Lakers, I'll give 76ers the win. And Kings Warriors, give Kings the win. As for the NHL yesterday, the Sharks won, Jets won, Penguins won, Wild won, and Senators won. And today we got the Capitals Devils, I'll give Capitals the win. Hurricanes Blue Jackets, I'll give Hurricanes the win. Bruins Islanders, I'll give Islanders the win. Maple Leafs Senators, I'll give Maple Leafs the win. Penguins Sabres, I'll give Penguins the win. Wild Blues, I'll give Wild the win. Blackhawks Panthers, give Blackhawks the win. Predators Red Wings, give Predators the win. Stars Lightning, give Lightning the win. And Avalanche Golden Knights, I'll give Avalanche the win. Rangers also play today. Rangers come in this game 14-13-4. Flyers come in this game 15-12-4. This game comes on over under 6.5 for this game. This game comes on today, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find this game on ESPN Plus and MSG2. The Rangers are actually favorites coming into this game. I was going to give them the win anyway. we played well last game. We got to build momentum off of that and get going for this game. Like I said, it's a big series for the Rangers. We got to win these games. We've got to. If we want any chance of making the playoffs. These are big games here. As for MLB, yesterday the Giants won, Cubs won, Rangers won, Diamondbacks won, Astros won, Red Sox won, Rockies won, A's won, Angels won, Rays won, Cardinals won, Tigers won, and Pirates won. Blue Jays won 5-0 against Yankees. Yankees moved to 13-8-2 on the season. Just couldn't get anything going on offense. As we get closer and closer to the season, I'm just looking forward to a regular season baseball at this point. As for today's games, we got the Braves, Rays. I'll give Braves the win. Royals, Diamondbacks. I'll give Royals the win. A's, Mariners. Give A's the win. White Sox, Reds. Give White Sox the win. Angels, Rockies. Give Angels the win. Astros, Cardinals. Give Astros the win. Nationals, Marlins. Give Nationals the win. Orioles, Pirates. Give Orioles the win. Twins, Red Sox. Give Twins the win. Tigers, Blue Jays. Give Blue Jays the win. Dodgers, Cubs. Give Dodgers the win. Padres, Rangers. Give Padres the win. And Giants, Brewers. Give Giants the win. The Yankees also play today. Yankees coming in this game 13-8-2. Phillies coming in this game 10-2-1. This game comes on today, 6:05 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find this game on NBC Philadelphia Plus. Today, Michael King's on the mound for the Yankees and Moore's on the mound for the Phillies. Michael King's on the mound for the Yankees. Big start for him. He's got to make his presence felt here. I guess I'll give the Yankees the win there. Michael King still, got to get ready for the season. Hopefully he makes an impact this year if he's coming out of the bullpen. He's a solid player coming out of the bullpen, which is always good. Always a good thing. Alrighty, as for fantasy basketball, I'm currently winning 577 to 531. Today I've got going Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler. That's really it. As for the injury update, Jimmy Butler's day-to-day. Butler's questionable for Thursday's game against the Trailblazers due to his stomach illness. Jamie Hudson of NBC Sports Northwest reports. And then that's really it there. And as for fantasy hockey, I'm currently winning 31 to 24. And today I got going Mika Zibanejad, Steven Stamkos, Artemi Panarin, Braden Point, Nicholas Backstrom, Braden Shin, Joe Pavelski, David Perron, Shea Theodore, and Justin Falk. And my goalies are Semyon Varlamov and Kaapo Kakkonen. So that's what I got for fantasy hockey, which is should be good. Fantasy hockey. Rolling right now. Still playing well. If I win this game, we're 8-3 on the season. So right now I'm 7-3 on the season. So hopefully I get the win there. That'd be good. And obviously the Rangers with the big game tonight. Definitely, if you can get the game. It's not on NBC or anything, but if you can get the game, definitely, because I'll be watching it. But definitely, this is a big game. If you want to keep updated with the Rangers, it's a big series here. Definitely would boost our playoff chances and put us in a really good position if we win these games. So, big games for the Rangers here coming up. And that will do it for the podcast here today. A lot of trades going on in the NBA, obviously, like I said. Comment down below your thoughts on that. Comment down below on Tevin Coleman and the Jets and any other comments you got. Put them in the comment section down below. So, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.